There we go. Yeah.
Oh,
There we go. We
did you
just
record it?
opened up. All right.
You missed the entire opera.
Your timing's impeccable.
Darn it. Mr. Gill, we're gonna turn it over to you.
All right, Mr. Chairman, you all had asked to have a little walking tour of the county administration offices to assess facilities, and I assume to probably get a better handle on, what offices could potentially move to the high school, existing high school, when that becomes vacated. First stop will be downstairs in the registrar's office. Jeffrey's coming back to open up the patrol division. We can walk over there. I've got Treasurer Bonnie Dixon standing by, as well as Commissioner of Revenue Beth Cornwell. And of course, Brett and I can take you through this building and show you the renovations that will be approved in the capital improvement budget for this building, since we've got the roof fixed, and then I guess answer any questions that you all may have. So for the public, and Glenn has posted on the website, this is not going to be a live streamed walking tour. I mean, we've gotten pretty good at this, but we're not quite there yet. So whenever you're ready, we can head on down.
All right, sir. O'clock portion of the meeting. At this particular time, we have opening the floor for public input session. Any comments that you want to make that's not presently on the agenda. And remember, you have 3 minutes to talk. And at the end of 2 minutes, we'll hold up a sign letting you know you have 1 minute left. All right. Anyone? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I am Pixie E. Curry, Chair for the Save Brookville History Committee. On behalf of the members of the committee and the community liaison associated with the committee, I would like to thank the following: Mrs. Mariah Curry, Mrs. Elaine Davenport, Mr. Carol Chin, Mr. Jesse Davenport, Ms. Lanisha Ball, Mr. Mark Curry, Mr. Robert Tolson, Mr. George Turner, Mr. Thomas Butler, Mr. Bryce Maddox, Mr. Travis Polk, Mr. Sean Evans, Mr. Nicholas Messiah, Mr. Giles Scott, Mrs. Lori Bell, Ms. Desiree Hooper, Mr. Harold Blackwell, Mrs. Lisa Hall, Mr. Travis Harris, TriStar, Kilmarnock Food Line, Boys and Girls Club Lancaster, YMCA of the Peninsulas, Lancaster Community Library, Virginia Institute of Marine Science, Rappahannock Community College, Toys for Tots, Lancaster, Virginia Historical Society, Bay Consortium Workforce Development Board, Commonwealth Senior Assisted Living, Rappahannock Art League, Art Central Gallery Phoebus, Classy Chef, Brown Sugar Honey, Tiles Projects, RT's Midway Entertainment, WC Lowry, Hot Mix VA, WIGO Country, Bay FM, Windy FM, the Rappahannock Record, Style Weekly, Town of Kilmarnock Economic Development, Chesapeake Bank, Stratford Hall Historical Preserves. To all the outside vendors and the citizens of Lancaster and Northumberland counties, far and near, who donated, supported, and prayed for the successful outcome of the Brookville May Day and the future installment of the highway marker, I humbly give our thanks. And I wish to say that it was a success, and I'm hoping that this is going to be an annual event and that we were able to showcase the many options that is available in that building and still show how valuable and valuable that a legacy of the school still holds. And I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Charlie Costello, District 2, waterfront overlay. I still feel that we should be doing something with that and not doing what we're doing. The bit about subdivisions, I think that still exceptions could be made. And Mr. Conwell, when he said about things not recommended, it was because of the workload that we place on having to do research on it. To me, that is not a reasonable thing to do. It's a job of people to do it, and the applicant could be made to do it and provide it. The other thing is, at least protect the tidal wetlands. I don't understand. You're gonna do marshes, you're gonna do shoreline. Tidal wetlands should be protected at least in this way, and you can do it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
2 minutes?
Anyone else?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, and residents of Lancaster County. My name is Randy Reeves, and I have been a resident of Lancaster County for my entire life. I'm here tonight to object to the increase of the real estate tax that's being proposed by the board.
Come back when we open up the public hearing on the taxes, that's the time
Yeah.
for you to speak. So come back to
You
the
got
podium
one,
again.
well, you don't have a sign-up sheet, so nobody knows.
That's all right, I'll ask for it.
Okay.
All right, anyone else? Anyone online? All right. Public input session is now closed. VDOT?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Let's see, we've been busy on the maintenance end. We've done some brush removal on Spencer Lane and Benson Road. We're dealing with beavers all across the northern neck. In Lancaster, we're fighting beavers on Pierce's Road. We're doing some shoulder repairs on 354 and Mary Point Road. We finally finished cleaning all the sidewalks in Lively, and we've been patching potholes and keeping up with work orders countywide. Coming up, we're working on brush removal on Route 3. We have a median to repair on Route 3 outside of Kilmarnock. We've been doing some work on Greentown. That work is underway, but not complete yet. We'll keep up with pothole patching. We have a drainage improvement to make on Fleets Bay Road, and we'll keep up with work orders countywide. On the pavement schedule, the Cape Seal is mostly complete. We're just waiting for some striping to be done. I anticipate that to be done next week, weather permitting. They did schedule the final inspection on the Kilmarnock right turn lane for June 5th. I anticipate it being striped the first part of next week. And then that one will be done. On the Oyster Creek Bridge on 695, we did have a delay with coordination with the utility company. I expect the right-of-way acquisition has to go move forward so the utility relocation can start. I expect the utility relocation to begin this fall, and then the actual bridge construction won't start until June of '26, and it's to be completed by April 27. There will be a temporary bridge there with a temporary signal during construction on that one. And then on 354, the culvert there at Deep Creek, that project has been awarded to Canton Construction, or Caton Construction, C-A-T-O-N, and that one has a fixed completion date of September 2nd. And we're just waiting to see what their schedule is as to when they will start. And as soon as I have that, I'll let you know. That's all I had. Do you all have any questions for me?
Any questions,
I
gentlemen?
got one question. When will countywide mowing begin?
We've authorized litter pickup to begin next week.
Next week?
So I would anticipate it would be another week after that before they actually start mowing.
Okay.
We give them a 10-day notice to start, and then they have 30 days to pick up all the litter and complete all the mowing. So sometimes if they're busy in another county, it might be a week or two before they actually show up. But we've authorized them to start next week.
Okay. And thanks for the work you're doing on Greentown Road.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, so, while we're in that area, the intersection at Christchurch, Black Stump and Route 200, and I know that we've talked about this before, but there was another accident recently there. I think the big question is, I'm not sure people know what the speed limit is. I'm not even sure I know what the speed limit is. Is it 45 through there, or is it 55 through there?
You're talking about Christchurch and Lumberlost and 222?
Right.
I'll check. I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
It's not posted properly, and if it's 55, it really shouldn't be 55. And it shouldn't be, is it 55?
55.
Yeah, it shouldn't be
I
55.
addressed this with Mr. Beal already, and you did get the accident report?
I did get the accident report, and I received a safety study review back from the district. I'm remembering this as you asked me about it. I think yesterday. I will forward that along so y'all can read it. I do recall there not being any recommendations in the report that need to be made, but I'll look into the speed limit again. That intersection does have a safety need in what we call V-Trans, which is the state's long-term transportation plan, so it would be eligible for a smart scale project. It would screen in. The county did not win any funding for smart scale projects this year, so I can't tell you that it will score well. Potentially also, maybe there's something we could do with the secondary 6-year plan, but, there's not a lot of money in that.
Well, whoever made that recommendation, I want them in my driver's seat, and I'll take them through there at 55. While cars are on both sides of me, making a turn towards Christchurch, and then a car coming the other way. It's really chaotic.
I'll review it before I send it, and we'll go through it again.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Okay.
Who wants to open up the public hearing? I think that's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
You want to introduce it, and then Mr. Palin will open
Do you want me
up the
to
public
go?
hearing?
Do you want me to go and do the presentation?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you put that up on the screen? There you go.
Okay, this is the same presentation you saw last week, or last month. I'll walk through it again. I did include Kenner Drive as a project in the draft plan. But it's the secondary 6-year plan for Lancaster County, so we're talking about secondary routes, not primary routes. Secondary routes can be identified by their route number, so those are all the routes that are numbered 600 and higher. It is 6 years, so fiscal year 26 through 31, which starts in July of this year. The next slide, this is what we call the cover sheet of the plan. The funding sources come from what we call telefees, and there's also a district grant for unpaved roads. Telefees are passed through to the counties. They're paid by utility companies for using the right-of-way to place their utilities in. They're passed through to counties for projects in a secondary 6-year plan based on their population. And the district grant for unpaved roads is allocated to counties based on the lane miles of unpaved roads that have more than 50 vehicles per day. So you're going to see in a minute that you don't have any roads left with more than 50 vehicles per day. So I expect that funding to move to zero once it's the formula and the road volumes are refreshed, unless the volumes increase over 50 vehicles per day. So once you all pass the plan, I'll ask the county administrator to sign off on that cover sheet, and I'll sign it as well. So this is the draft plan. The first block there represents Kenner Drive, which is what we talked about last month, and you all seem to indicate that you're supportive of adding Kenner Drive. There's a $70,000 estimate. The allocations come from previous year's allocations. $46,919 comes from previous years, and the remainder come from telefees from FY26 and 27, and it's fully funded in 27, so we would look to start that probably in the fall of 26. The countywide engineering and survey and the future unpaved road funds is just kind of a placeholder for the funding until the rest of it's prioritized. You can see we left $22,221 in fiscal year 26 in the countywide for engineering and survey, and we do that just that there's some money in the plan that's available in the current year in case something comes up either unforeseen or if you ask for a study or something like that that we need to pay for out of the plan, we have funding that's available. The unpaved road funds will just stay there until we have a road that's more than 50 vehicles per day that we can spend that money on. The next slide, this is just a little bit about the Rural Rustic Program, which is traditionally what the county has spent most of their money on. It has to be an unpaved road already in the state system. It can't carry more than 1,500 vehicles per day. It has to be identified as a line item in the secondary 6-year plan. Should be predominantly for local traffic. and the roadway drainage should only require minor improvements. The next slide has a list of all the unpaved roads in the county. And last month, Mr. Bellows asked me some questions, and I've tried my best to answer those. It's 4.78 miles of road left in the county. There's gravel roads. A rough estimate to hard surface, all that would be about $2.5 million. That's using about $1 a foot. Since 2019, which is the last 6 years, we've improved 0.84 miles. We also did an intersection improvement at Carter's Cove and Johns Neck, which was funded from your secondary 6-year plan. I think the other question I got last month was about field trial. I rode that, and it's about 0.6 of a mile from Route 3 down to that log home that sits off to the left. And that seems to be where most of the development is clustered. Estimate that to be $317,000 to hard surface, that's 0.6. My hope is that once those houses are built and we get a new count on field trial, that it'll be higher than 50 vehicles per day, and then we'll start to get more of the unpaved road funds, as well as make that funding available to be used on field trial, and then we could, start knocking that out, kind of like we have Davis Mill.
How often do they do these traffic counts?
So the counts are published annually, but that doesn't necessarily mean they got a new count annually. We have the flexibility to get a new count when we need it. So if you want to, my thought is when the counts come out, when the 24 counts are published, which they haven't been published yet, that if they haven't counted field trials specifically, and it matters too where they actually put the counter. So I can be a little more strategic with the placement of the counter to make sure I'm getting that first driveway on field trial than if they just count it in the, 1.5 miles down the road somewhere. But we have some flexibility there. I think we can, work towards the number that we want. That's everything I had in my notes for the presentation. I don't know if you'll have any other questions for me before we go to public comment.
Gentlemen, before I open it up to the public for comment, do you have any questions on the 6-year plan? All right. At this particular time, I'm going to open it up to the public for comments on the 6-year plan. And again, three minutes. Floor is now open. Any comments? Any comments?
I just have a question, if I can.
You need to come up to the microphone.
My name is John Guzak. I live in Kilmarnock, and the question I have is relative to the new pavement that was put down by VDOT. They did a nice job of putting it all down, but there's an awful lot of the very fine gravel, I guess almost like sand. Is that to be picked up at some point, or is this the end of the project?
Do you want to see if there are any other?
No, you go ahead and answer.
I assume that was either a surface treatment route or a Cape Seal route. The surface treatment routes are blotted with sand, and typically traffic volume wears that sand off. But after it cures, if there's still excess sand, we'll come back and sweep it.
Come back and sweep it. Okay, good. All right. Anyone else? Public comment? Anybody online?
No, sir.
All right. The floor is now closed. All right. I entertain a motion.
Move that we approve the 6-year plan as presented.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, now we go into presentations. School construction, who's here? All right, here you are.
All right, a lot like last month, just need it to stop raining. That would help out a lot. Got a few slides to show you on where we stand with the project. Again, it's a lot to look at on this 2-week look ahead. It gives you an idea about all the trades on the site, where they're focused on working for the next 2 weeks. I guess a quick snapshot, if you look at it, you'll start seeing level 1 show up. That means we're starting to work up in the building, and you'll see that represented in the slides moving forward. I don't know if anybody's got any questions about this look ahead, but if you do, take your time and let me know, and I'll be able to get you some answers. I do this each month, give you a shot from a month ago, and you'll start to see where these drone shots are becoming less and less impressive as the building comes up. But I did want to, bring you in real close on this next slide to show you how the concrete's been poured on all 3 levels of the back of the school, and this is going to help expedite the work taking place. So we'll start at the top. This is what we call level C. This is on level 2, which is the top floor of the building. It goes 2, 1, 0. They're working on, just getting the roof to a point where it's dried in. This gives you an idea about when it does rain, it's not waterproof right now, so we're working to that end. I believe over the next 4 weeks, hopefully by the time I come back to you next month, we'll be at a point where we're pretty well dried in. This is level D, area D, level 2, so just the opposite side, closer to Hills Quarter. So we're looking back over towards the neighborhood. So we're dropping down a level. This is level 1. You can start to see the fireproofing that's taking place on the steel. The roof drains are put in, and some of the basic work that's happening. You can see on the floor where they're starting to mark off for the interior walls, and that work should start as soon as next week. This is how they apply the gypsum material to the steel. They'll go through the whole building, and I finally got in there at a good time to get a good picture of that. And this is the same level 1, but this is area D, again closer to Hills Quarter, and you can see how that work hasn't taken place over that. So I believe they moved into that area today. I doubt they did much on Wednesday with all the rain. This is the inside of the auditorium. You can see how the slope in the floor leads to a nice little swimming pool. But the walls are going up in the building, and that area is sort of closing in. This is the main gym. Again, it's a sloppy mess on the inside, but the walls are basically up at this point, and they're tying those into the roof structure. This is down on level 1. This is actually the admin area. This is where the offices will be, and this is the area of the school that will be poured next week, assuming that it dries out. Let me go back one. And we're dropping down to level 0 now. So this is the bottom level of the school, looking out towards the east, area C. And you can see the work that's taking place, a lot of HVAC, a lot of electrical rough-in, and most of the metal stud walls are up at this point. This just gives you an idea of one of the typical classrooms. HVAC's in place, fire suppression, the sprinklers are in, and we're getting real close to being able to, once it's dried in a little bit more, we'll be able to put some more drywall up on those walls. This is looking west, area D, same level, level 0. And again, as they get that gypsum in place, this is the work that will take place on level 1. They'll just move up in the building. These are the walls going up on the field house out near the track. That work's continuing at a pretty good pace. Again, it's really weather dependent, so it's been slow over the past few weeks. But they have been able to pour. These are the footers for the existing high school bleacher that'll be moved up. I talked about it last week, last month. I'll talk about it again today. We are not playing football at the high school this year. That the bleachers will get moved after the last home game at the high school. Any questions?
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. County Parks.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, give you an update on the county parks projects underway, under development. We'll start with Westland Beach update. The railings are sitting at Maubrey in their parking lot, ready to be, they're staged, ready to be installed. In the meantime, we have installed a railing in front of the pier to keep people off of it. We've had some folks going on there, and it's not particularly safe at the moment. But those railings will be going up pretty soon. The dredging project continues, depending on weather and wind. They've actually had some pretty good weather from what I hear recently. This picture shows the dredge material being taken out of the barge and placed on the beach for dewatering. Again, it's been a really good quality mixed grain sand, good beach sand. And actually, after it dewaters, it actually looks really nice. Here's another picture. This is at the end of the project towards the jetty. Moving back towards in front of the marina, you can see the beach starting to take real shape. The markers you see in the water are the low and high areas of the beach nourishment. So you can begin to see it really taking shape. This next picture in front of where the hotel used to be, the beach is really wide. I mean, it's probably 70 feet wide right now. So it's really nice. When I was out there taking these pictures, even though the beach is closed, there were people walking up and down the beach. People just can't help themselves. Here's again, these are the upper limits. These markers represent the upper limits of the beach nourishment placement. Again, just a reminder to the public that the beach is closed while the beach nourishment process is in progress, particularly when there's heavy equipment out there moving the material. It could be dangerous. And then I took one last shot from the pier looking at, and you can really see how wide the beach is right there in front of the parking lot for the marina. Talking about completion, phase one, again, hasn't changed. The percentage hasn't moved much because the dredging project is ongoing and the dredge material placement is ongoing. The channel markers will be placed upon dredge completion, and the beach nourishment, the beach revegetation should occur in the fall when, planting is, the conditions for planting is more optimal. Phase two has begun, and I had some pictures of phase two, and I didn't get a chance to get into the presentation. My apologies. But they've prepared the site. They've begun building up the mounded area where the foundation will be placed for the building. They've done some improvements to the entryway to where the parking lot will be, and I should have some more substantial photos for you next month. But just a reminder that substantial completion for phase two is October, with final completion in November. Taylor Creek Park, the site design has been submitted to the county and DEQ, and I believe the JPA has also been submitted. So the target project timeline, again, this is contingent upon agency responsiveness, but publishing the invitation to bids in September, pre-bid, a bid opening in October, a potential contract award at the November meeting, pre-construction period, contract period, November to January, with construction period being, so substantial completion being January to August of 2026, and final completion in September of 2026. Carter Cove update, site design is not quite complete. Same thing with the JPA and submittal. This is a rough project timeline, again, contingent upon agency responsiveness, just to try to give you an idea of where we are at the moment. So invitation to bid in January of 2026, with a pre-bid meeting in February and bid opening in March of 2026. With a potential contract award at the board meeting in March of 2026. The pre-construction contract period is between March and May of 2026, and a construction period to substantial completion between May of 2026 and January of 2027, with final completion in February of 2027. For our Chesapeake Trail Park, it's kind of status quo. The NEPA is still on hold, awaiting DCR to move that along. Triway Trail update, again, the Phase 1A connector to Harris Road and Hills Quarter is complete. Construction focuses on Phase 1B between Hills Quarter and Compass, although that construction is still on hold due to a funding freeze. But Phase 1, what is fully open for use, except we've created a detour down Middlegate to Compass because the trail currently dead ends. Acquisition focus continues for Phase 2 to get us from Kilmarnock, particularly Irvington Road to Harris Road connector. I met with the Kilmarnock council members, subcommittee of the council members last month to make a proposal for the Triway Trail to come through that parcel. And again, our planning and funding committees are meeting monthly to actively plan future phases of the trail. Any questions?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
What will it take to get those railings from the parking lot actually on the dock and on the pier? I mean,
Yeah, I'll say the prime contractor of Docks of the Bay and the county have been on the subcontractor to go ahead and get that done, primarily because it's. Go ahead,
I think
Lydia.
weather has been a major factor lately.
Yeah.
So hopefully with the weather clearing up, that'll expedite.
so next week, it's supposed to be sunny, warm.
I'm hoping that will be the magic that we need.
Okay.
I can give one update to that, Bill. The railings are on the setting now, delivered at the dock.
Okay, so we got some head, got movement.
We also asked the contractor about the possibility of a ribbon cutting on 4th of July. For just a pier. So they're thinking about how we can do that and manage crowds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Bateman. Okay, proposed trade school presentation, Mr. Feldmelson.
Yes, good evening,
Good
and
evening.
thank you for allowing me to speak to you this evening. My name is Carl Fehlmesger, and I represent a group of local residents, Lancaster residents, who have a common goal, and that is to build a local trade school here for our youth. But frankly, after a lot of there's been a lot of public interest, and we've listened to a lot of public input, and after significant member discussion, we've actually modified our plan from what we'd originally proposed. While we still hope to renovate the Brookvale, or also the Lancaster Primary School, with the work being done by students under expert supervision, we have realized that while we have many retired contractors and a lot of licensed skilled trade workers, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, and things of that sort, we really have very limited school administrative experience and expertise. And so based upon that, our board has voted to instead to try to become a public charter school rather than a private school. And so it is our intent in the future to request that the Lancaster School Board vote for us to be a charter school as required by Virginia law. Because basically we feel like for this project to be more successful, it certainly would be more successful if it involved local school administrative expertise, sort of a public and private partnership, and certainly not a sort of competitive kind of thing. Because basically nobody has a monopoly on good ideas. They come from every source, and I like to listen to all opinions. So basically, we'd be willing to sacrifice a lot of autonomy that you might have with a public school and be subject to school rules and governance, just so we can involve get the local expertise from the school administrators. Because basically, this isn't about individual egos, it's not about money, it's not about power or control or anything like that. The important thing for us is to improve the quality of the lives of our local children, and so allow them to gain skills and learn to be productive and high-wage earning workers in the future. Basically, we do hope, though, instead of the children taking these useless SOL exams, we would hope that they would be moving forward towards taking useful trade certification exams, so that then afterwards they're on their way to becoming licensed electricians, licensed plumbers, and things like that, and hopefully have summer jobs in those fields. So again, they'd be gaining that experience, because in order to become these licensed skilled workers, they need both the training and taking the exam and also actual in-the-field experience. We do realize, I've looked at the Brookvale School recently, and there are some roof leaks. I don't think there's any insulation in the building. So I think whenever you have roof leaks, I think the first thing to do is repair the roof. But we would also plan on installing insulated subfloor, insulated walls and ceiling. And if you've been in there, the old ceiling tiles are, a lot of them are kind of moldy and mildew because there's a moisture problem in there, and so those would also need to be replaced. We do still expect and hope to get free materials from the manufacturers, and again, use free student labor with skilled experts overseeing them. And this would allow the students to gain experience and to be invested in the school, and also to invest in themselves. Okay, so they will become better, productive adults in the future. We still have no intention of asking this Lancaster Board of Supervisors for any money. It would just only be the use of the building. But basically, we do think that children need construction jobs to do if they're going to learn to be construction workers. And so we do hope that we're able to work with Habitat for Humanity to help them build some homes. But we also hope that when the Lancaster when you all decide to renovate the high school, that you consider letting these students actually do that job and just pay for the materials and save yourself some money. So we really won't be asking for anything at this time from you. Like I say, we're going to approach the school board because we had a recent board vote and we changed our opinion based upon a board vote. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, please.
Have you talked with the superintendent about this?
I have not, but we do plan to. We just had a vote recently, and so we've kind of changed our approach.
Okay.
A lot of it did come change. There was a lot of public opinion. I don't know, I like to listen to a lot of people.
Right.
A lot of people tell you what they think. And
All right.
so.
Now, you also made the statement, you wouldn't be asking anything as far as funding from the county. All right, but what about the upkeep of the building?
In terms of maintenance?
Yes.
I don't know, we might get the students to do it, but I don't know. I hadn't thought about that one, Mr. Palin, but thank you for the
How about
question.
insurance?
What's this? You're raising questions, and this is a lot of reason why we need to bring in the school administrative expertise, because there are a lot of issues and considerations that we as private citizens really haven't considered. And so that's why we want to be a partnership, because we have some good ideas, but I'm sure that the school board and administrators have a lot of great ideas that we need to incorporate. And so
is the charter school, is that something that is in addition to them being enrolled in high school, or is this a whole separate school? That they would be only enrolled in your school?
I would think that they would choose one or the other, that they would go to one school and not the other. And basically, we'd be really
So they
more...
wouldn't get a high school diploma, they would get a trade certification?
Yeah, that's probably true. They'd probably get trade certification, yes. But we're really looking to, there are a lot of children who really don't work very well within the school system. A lot of them don't either read very well, or some of them don't have very great computer skills. And so we think those children may be it's more appropriate to more hands-on learning. That rather than learning from reading a book, they're learning by actually doing things with, they've got a tape measure and a hammer in their hand rather than a book. Okay? But we're still this isn't going to happen right away. Okay? This is a longer-term situation. There's a lot to consider and a lot to deal with, and that's why I'm sorry I don't really have the answers to your questions at this point in time, but this is a project and a movement in development stage. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Blighted and vacant property, Mr. Guzak.
I can respond?
Oh, no, Mr. Guzak.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I have the clicker. Are you in slideshow mode so I can just click ahead? Thank you. I'm John Guzak, as I had said before. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come up here. I think this is probably the third time I've visited. I have a brief story I'm going to tell, and I think there's a good news ending to it. So if I can. The problem, as I see it, is vacant and blighted commercial, residential, and agricultural buildings as a detriment to our community and our quality of life. Collectively, they represent a loss of multiple tax revenues. They hinder commercial growth and they limit affordable housing in our region. They're a burden on code enforcement resources, aesthetically damaging to the community. Their mere existence suggests a governance indifference. The bottom line here is a decision must be made to successfully eliminate this problem if the 2035 strategic development plan is more than just a wish list, if you will. Why does this matter? Because your plan, the plan for the county, seeks to attract employers, increase workforce age population by 1,000 people, promote employment, increase affordable housing, and encourage young people to stay in our region. Blight repels the growth planned in this 2035 plan. Vacancies negatively impact revenues, limit affordable housing, and hinder commercial services growth. Common sense must prevail if this plan is to come to pass. Citizens expect action and accountability on every part of its on the part of its leadership at every single level. We deserve a better community and an improved quality of life. I took this particular slide shot out of a YouTube video that was just made by two men, Carol Ashburn and Steve Bonner of Kilmarnock. This YouTube video is called Remembering Main Street Kilmarnock, where they walked around and talked about every single building. When they got up to the, I think we all know it, the grocery store, excuse me, on the corner of Irvington and Main, Bonner made a comment in the video that says, "This building has been vacant for as long as I can remember," followed up by Ashburn saying, "And that store is never going to be rented, just leave it at that." So it represents a significant detrimental impact to the city, to the county, and for our residents. I did a little bit of a study using ChatGPT, and if that building had been rented for the last 44 years, the town and the county would have realized $2.5 million in tax revenues over 4 decades. We just heard from a gentleman today who's concerned about tax increases. Here we have one building that could have produced several $1 million in its existence. This blighted vacant property sits where? At the very center of the historic crossroads of this area. It serves as an embarrassment in light of visitors and tourists to our area. It robs our residents of products and services availability. But there are many others. This particular house happens to be 2 houses from mine in my community, and it's been vacant and overgrown for 2 years. I am so pleased to say that the town finally got the grass cut about a week or 2 ago. This house represents a loss of affordable housing, and I say it's a danger to the community. That 70-foot tree, because I worked with Dominion Power, they removed the tree, so it's no longer a danger, but it does represent a loss of affordable housing and revenue for our town. But it's not limited to Kilmarnock. This happens to be right in your own backyard here at the historic courthouse area. I think you all recognize these buildings. I did a little bit of a study using the Lancaster County GIS. This particular property located at Mary Ball and Regina Road, interestingly enough, the owner doesn't even live here. The property tax is $353 a year for a house that sits on 12 acres. But what's really significant is it says there is no improvement on this lot. I see a house, but it says there's no improvement. So could the taxes be adjusted while it exists? Well, while it exists, it's $353.10 a year, which is less than $30 a month for us to see this eyesore and it not supporting any families in this area. If a 5% blight tax was associated with this, you would collect $3,210 a year as opposed to the $30 a month currently paid. I'll move on to a few more examples. I think you all know this one very well, over 200-year-old tavern. Again, the owner lives out of town. The property tax is $363 a year. That's about $30 a month property tax. If a 5% blight tax was assigned to that, you'd be collecting $3,300. And finally, the last one, not too far away from that one, another out-of-town owner. The property tax on this is $164 for a house on a half acre. That's about, well, $14 a month you're getting for this. and the 5% blight tax would be $1,495. There's a great deal of revenue sitting idle on the roads of our county. This is the most embarrassing thing. A Northern Neck postcard. I purchased this card at the tavern in Heathsville. Congratulations, here it is, a Northern Neck duplex. This is what we are saying the culture of our area is. With that, I'm going to propose a solution. Identify and leverage existing state, county, and local ordinances that'll solve this problem. Promptly develop ordinance if none exists. Appoint a task force. Hold the task force accountable to create the plan, implement, and provide progress reports. Communicate the results to the general public on a periodic basis throughout that period of performance. I'm going to give you an example from that grocery store. If a vacancy tax at 3%, or if it looks so bad that you have to add the blight tax at 5%, the vacant grocery store property, its current assessment is $544,000. The property tax here, as we all know, is 55 cents per hundred, which means the owner of that building is paying $3,000 a year to let it sit for the last 44 years. Add a blight tax of 5% of that assessed value, and suddenly he's going to have to start paying, in addition to that $3,000, $27,000 more, for a total of $30,000 a year instead of $3,000 a year. So I ask all of you, which one better serves the community, the building on the left or the building on the right? The building on the left just opened, as we all know. It's already created revenue from permits, gross sales tax, payroll tax, property tax, and utility tax. The one on the right, well, negligible. The one on the left, products and services are being provided in support of the community. The one on the right, no products, no services. The one on the left further encourages commercial growth. The one on the right, deteriorating eyesore. The one on the left contributes to the 2035 plan. The one on the right is an aesthetic nuisance. The one on the left, improved quality of life for all of us. The one on the right, an embarrassing affront to the historic Steptoe district. The one on the left, jobs, 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 and the one on the right, of course, no jobs for 44 years. Expected results. If this is carried through, properties will be rented, raised, sold, or improved. Increased revenues will be realized in the forms of property taxes, utility taxes, sales taxes, payroll taxes, gross receipt taxes, income taxes, increased business growth, more available housing, and a pride in our community. So, kickstart the 2035 plan by eliminating long-term vacancies and blight throughout our region. Create and promote opportunity, attract investments in our community, increase housing, product services, and tourism, promote overall quality of life, cultivate new employment, increase revenues and resources for the county. This is truly a genuine opportunity to make a difference. Now, some of the good news. Since I put this slide deck together, I had to modify it because I made a call to State Senator Stewart. I actually reached out to him in email, and he responded within a half an hour after he saw my slide deck, and he informed me of the following. The governor signed new legislation into law to convey vacant and blighted properties to the localities. I'm not sure you're aware of this. This is fresh, hot off the press. The law goes into effect 1 July. So you will have the power to take these properties. A court-appointed commissioner simply executes a deed to convey the property to the locality's land bank. That means the county can do it. That means the towns can do it. Following this meeting, I'm going to make the same presentation to the town of Kilmarnock. And I ask now, what are the intentions of the board considering this new law? Here is the actual legislative information. You can see at the top, the governor signed it into effect in March, and it's going to take effect July 1. And as the title says, vacant and blighted derelict property, locality allowed to sell. And what it does essentially is when this is accomplished, the owner, whoever buys it from the county, has 6 months to initiate new construction on that and has to do it within 2 years. So it benefits. It benefits right off the bat by getting the county some money. It benefits again by creating permits to get construction. It benefits again by providing jobs to construct the buildings. And maybe this whole business of young people learning the trades, well, it could benefit them as well. So with that, I thank you very, very much for this third opportunity. I don't intend to be a pest. I want to be a volunteer. I want to help make this a reality. I close with a statement by Margaret Wheatley, who is a management consultant in all of this business, that says there's no power greater than change than a community discovering what it cares about. Thank you again for your time this evening. I certainly appreciate it. Are there any questions before you chase me out of here?
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. You don't have to leave.
I'd say the only question I have is like, what are our authority to impose such ordinances or taxes?
Well, currently, the
Like
county,
to do with this law?
yeah, currently, the county would not qualify to impose a blighted property tax because we do not have a fiscal stress index of 100 or greater. I've mentioned that before. County Attorney Jim Cornwell also could not find in current code how we would have the legislative authority to enact a vacant property tax. Now, this new law that will go into effect July 1, I've actually been in contact with the county attorney by email today. And so what I would suggest is allow the county attorney and I to get together with Mr. Guzak and go over that new legislation and
Maybe even our delegate.
and make a report back to you all next month.
Mr. Guzak, this is what, even in light of the new, I don't know what, somewhere in my throat. Even in light of the new law, this is what I would like to see. Maybe a 501(c)(3) or LLC, people get together that have the means to do so and purchase these properties.
Oh, yes.
And then put them back out on the market.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see.
Yes. It's a golden opportunity. I don't see a lose in this. I see a win-win-win. It's just a very good thing for the county, for the citizens. And I genuinely appreciate the time that you've given me on this.
The last time you were here, you were going to speak to the owner of one of those properties, the grocery store property. Did you two speak?
I'm not sure I said that.
Okay.
I would like to.
Maybe I was thinking you should.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to like to talk to me after hearing
gotcha.
this. But again, I volunteer. I'm willing to do anything and not knock the mic over. But thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'll be in touch with you.
Thank you.
All right. Now we move to Mr. Gill, the proposed tax levy.
Mr. Chairman, your first public hearing deals with the proposed calendar year 2025 tax levy ordinance. The public hearing is to receive public comment on the ordinance that you have authorized advertising. You must fix a tax rate for the calendar year no later than the date on which the next fiscal year begins, which is July 1st, 2025. As required by the code. You can adopt a tax rate lower than you have advertised. You've chosen to advertise a 57-cent real estate tax rate. The current real estate tax rate is 55 cents. All other tax rates remain the same. As I said, you can adopt a tax rate lower than advertised, but you cannot adopt a rate higher than what was advertised. The attached ordinance has been advertised as required by law. And to date, other than discussions at prior budget work sessions, I've had no further response from the public. Although, as we heard earlier, I know we do have one interested citizen who would like to speak during the public hearing.
Gentlemen, before I open it up to the floor for comments, you have any questions of Mr. Gill? All right, at this particular time, I'm opening it up to the floor to make comments of the tax. Sir, you're up.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I jumped the gun.
That's okay.
My wife will tell you I do that a lot. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board of members, and residents of Lancaster County. My name is Randy Reeves, and I've been a resident of Lancaster County for my entire life. I'm here tonight to object to the increase in the real estate tax that's being presented to the board. I was the mayor of Whitestone for 8 years and on council for 36 years. I served on many budget committees, most of those years in the town, and other organizations in the community, as well as businesses. What I can't understand is why we need to increase the taxes again. At last year's budget hearing, I was here regarding the changes to the tax rate. You wanted to change the tax rate then to 55% per 100. The 55-cent rate was a decrease from the past years, but with the Lancaster County properties being reassessed, the properties values were increased, and with the 55-cent increase, it raised our property taxes even higher. At that time, one of the board members asked if it would be significant enough increase to reply. The reply was yes. When it came to a vote, 2 of your board members voted against it. Now you're looking at increasing a tax, another 2 cents, and you want to discount merchants' tax 50%, if I'm correct. That's what the paper says.
There's no change on that. That's the way it currently is.
Okay. I do know that 2 cents doesn't sound like much, but it does to the working class and to retirees that are here on fixed incomes in our county. My question is why? My understanding is that a couple of months ago, the county needed to borrow $25 million for projects going on in the county for the new high school and development at Windmill Point. Were these projects a contract job? And if so, why do we need more money? I understand change orders. I've been in the construction business for 50-some years, but not $25 million, I'm sorry. I would like to know if the budget committee took in consideration all the new businesses that have opened and the new houses that have been built this past year. I know for a fact that a considerable number of houses have been built in Hills Quarters, Springwood, and Grace Hills, not counting the private homes that have been built throughout our county. I think that the county is wasteful on spending money on certain projects. I feel that these projects, and this is my opinion, need to be studied more before making a decision. I would like you to consider not raising the tax rate. I think it is your duty and obligation as an elected official serving the Lancaster County property owners. You should see if the budget can be cut to not raise taxes. I've been there, and I know it is a hard job to do, but someone has to do it. Thank y'all.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, anyone else? Anyone online?
No, sir.
Okay, at this particular time, public hearing is now closed on the tax. I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that the real estate tax be 55 cents per 100 assessed value, the same as it is now. Do I need to go down each one of these individually?
No, you can just make that one change as it's presented.
Yeah, 55, and everything else remain the same.
All right, y'all heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion passed.
Mr. Gill, will you just briefly explain what we do every year with our taxing, that we increase it by a couple cents with the intention that it would hopefully be no increase at all?
Well, as was stated last month, when you authorized me to advertise a 2-cent increase, it was advertised as a cushion, basically, to give you some leeway to make adjustments. You stated publicly, if it wasn't last month's meeting, it was the April 10th budget work session, that none of you really wanted to raise taxes, but you advertised a 2-cent increase just to have some cushion, and that's why.
Thank you.
Could you give a little bit of input to the 25 million that additional that was borrowed in the timeline of why that occurred the way it did? Because the article that was presented was a little misleading.
Yeah, the 25 million is broken down into 15 million additional for the school project and 10 million for all of the county park projects, not just Windmill Point. That extra 15 million for the school project was actually approved in December of 2023 by this board, but our financial advisors, Davenport Public Finance, they're here tonight to talk about the $10 million borrowing that we're looking at. But on their advice, they advised us not to borrow that money back then in December of 23 because we already had the $60 million in place, and to wait until we really needed the money in the hopes that interest rates would come down, which they have. So it was the plan all along not to borrow that $15 million when it was approved back in December 23, but to borrow it during 2025. That was the plan all along. The additional money for the parks, the $10 million, has recently evolved over the last year. We had to get better estimates from our contracted architectural and engineering firms, Guernsey Tingle and Bay Design Group, for the projects at hand. We have gone out to bid for, as you've seen earlier, Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Windmill Point, the restoration and expansion of Westland Beach, addition of a fishing pier, a parking lot, and a restroom facility. We've gone out to bid and awarded a contract for the expansion of the Kilmarnock Refuse Center. We are, as John mentioned earlier, we're looking at, bidding out Taylor's Creek and Carter's Cove projects at some point during the end of this year or first of next year. And we have good estimates for those projects now. And so that's why the $10 million is needed at this point. I could be more specific, but I think maybe that's enough at this point.
Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you. All right. Application for special exception, Ms. Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have for you this evening an application for a special exception by Mr. Arnold and Sadia Arnold of 1004 North Calvert Street, Baltimore, Maryland, to operate an unhosted short-term rental as required by Article 29 of the Lancaster County zoning ordinance. This property is zoned R1 Residential General, is located at 85 Westview Lane, Lancaster, Virginia. Tax map numbers 31A-1-3 and 31A-2-A collectively in District 1. Staff recommends approval be contingent on the applicant's continued compliance with requirements in Article 29 for unhosted short-term rentals. In addition, for this purpose only, parcels 3 and 2A are to be considered one lot, and only one short-term rental unit is to be operated on the subject property. Any changes to the above would need to be approved by the Board of Supervisors under a new special exception application. Article 29 of the Lancaster County zoning ordinance requires a special exception for the operation of an unhosted short-term rental. The Arnolds seek to obtain approval for their special exception application to operate an unhosted short-term rental located at 85 Westview Lane. The VDH septic operations permit allows 3 bedrooms, and the applicant is advertising a 3-bedroom home. The applicant has provided a parking plan that is adequate and proof of general commercial liability insurance. A certificate of occupancy is also on file with the county. This is an existing short-term rental, and the short-term rental is registered to operate with the county for the 2025 calendar year. The property is hosted through VRBO and Airbnb, therefore payment of transient occupancy taxes are automatically collected by and sent to the county via the hosting platforms. Due to past communications from an adjacent neighbor, included with this memo are the Sheriff's Office dispatch call logs for the period of January 1st, 2023 through May 14th, 2025. This issue has been advertised and adjoining property owners notified as required by law. To date, there are no additional complaints or comments on file regarding this short-term rental special exception application. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Hall before I open it up to the public? At this time, it's open up to the public for comments on this, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. I'm Sadia Arnold, and I'd like to thank you all for your consideration of our short-term rental. We have put great care into restoring our home and our future retirement home while maintaining its historical charm. We have been committed to being considerate and responsible neighbors, and we have been honored that most of our guests have been local residents or family members visiting loved ones in the area. We truly appreciate the opportunity to continue sharing our home in a way that supports the community, and I would like to thank you all again for considering our application.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Anyone online? No, sir. All right, the floor is now closed. I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, this is in District 1, my district, I move that we accept or we pass the unhosted short-term rental at 85 Westview Lane, Lancaster, Virginia.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passed. All right, consensus docket.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the consensus document be approved.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Consensus docket passed. Consideration docket, salaries and invoices.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the invoices for the month of May for a total of $3,420,962.35, of which payroll was $449,302.94 for a total of $3,870,265.29, of which capital improvements were $2,798,249.54.
All right, you've heard that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion passed. All right, resolution of adoption of the fiscal year 25-26 county general funds and capital improvement budgets. Mr. Gill.
Mr. Chairman, in accordance with the Code of Virginia, Section 15.22506, the Board of Supervisors conducted its required public hearing on this proposed budget at your meeting on April 24th, and you have waited more than the required 7 days before considering action on this proposed budget. The aforementioned code section also requires that the county budget be adopted by July the 1st. This proposed budget is a result of six prior budget work sessions conducted by the Board of Supervisors. It results in a 2.8% increase in expenditures over FY25. That's really all I can say at this point. You need to pass this budget resolution of adoption to be followed by a resolution of appropriation.
Any questions, gentlemen? All right, I entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the attached resolution for the proposed FY26 County General Fund and Capital Improvement Budget.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, next motion. Let's see, resolution of appropriations. Mr. Gill.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. As you now have adopted the FY26 budget with that resolution of adoption, you now must appropriate the funding for the FY26 budget. There are a couple of safeguards in the resolution of appropriation, particularly paragraphs 2 and 5. And paragraph 2 says that if estimated revenues are not realized, said appropriations shall be deemed to be payable in such proportion as the sum of all realized revenue is to the total amount of revenues estimated by the Board of Supervisors to be available for appropriation in FY26. Likewise, paragraph 5 authorizes the county administrator to establish purchasing policies and procedures to assure that expenditures are made within the appropriation as defined within the resolution and to initiate emergency spending reductions to decrease expenditures in light of decreased actual revenues. So there are some safeguards in there, and this resolution of appropriation I ask that you adopt tonight.
All right, before we vote on this resolution, are there any questions you want to ask of the county administrator? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the resolution for appropriation of the proposed FY26 county budget.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. Okay, next one is, where are we? Non-school related capital improvement budget, items, funding options. Mr. Siegel and Mr. Wilson.
There you go. We have Mr. Ben Wilson here from Davenport Public Finance and Mr. Dan Siegel, Bond Counsel, Sands Anderson.
Good evening. I have some hard copies for you all. Thank you for having us this evening. Like Don mentioned, my name is Ben Wilson. I work with Davenport and Company, and we, for many years, have served as financial advisor to the county. You all, I think, are very familiar with my colleague Ted Cole, who's not able to be here tonight, but he and I have worked very closely together on this. This is related to the $10 million that Mr. Gill mentioned a few minutes ago. So if everyone has that in front of them now, I think I'll just go through that Like I mentioned, Dan Siegel is here from Sands Anderson. If there are any legal questions, and there is a resolution to be considered after this if we are to go with one of these options tonight. So, if you flip to page 2 of what was handed out there, again, for fiscal year 26, the county is considering about $11.1 million of capital projects outside of the high school project. This is mainly county-related things, a few school items in there as well. 10 million of that is being considered for financing. So in speaking with staff, we moved forward with a dual-track approach here. We issued a request for proposals for banks from all across the country as well as locally for a bank loan of just over $10 million. We asked for terms of 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years. Banks don't typically go longer than 20 years for loans of this nature. At the same time, we submitted a non-binding application to the Virginia Resources Authority. They issue bonds on behalf of local governments and authorities throughout the state, and that's just a different funding mechanism that provides different interest rates, some different terms, and there are some other considerations in here. One item I do want to note on this page is of that $10 million, there is one project that in reviewing it with legal counsel, there was the potential that because there is private activity associated with it, a non-governmental entity involved with the Harpers Creek project, that portion may have needed to be done on a taxable basis. So typically the county can issue bonds on a tax-exempt basis, which means lower interest rates for you all. So that's just one consideration here, that a small piece of this may have been needed to be done on a taxable basis. And I'll talk more about that on the next page. On that RFP, we did get 4 proposals, and you can see who we got that from. And then, like I mentioned, we also submitted an application to the VRA pool, their summer pool, which will lock in interest rates in mid-July and close for you all to have funding in early August. So if we flip to page 3, this will get into that conversation a little bit more of the tax exempt versus taxable. Again, the 11.1 million is what's being considered for FY26. Just shy of 10 million of that was being considered for debt funding, which is what we went out and did this RFP for. There was what we call PAYGO of about 1.1 million. So you can see those projects in column C that the county is planning to fund with cash or with revenues that you collect during the year or your fund balances. In our conversations about the fact that this small piece of it may need to be done on a taxable basis, one solution that we came up with that we think we're going to move forward with here is this alternative funding approach on the right side, where that Harpers Creek project would mostly be funded with cash, and that's all cash that you were planning on spending on all those other projects towards the bottom. And if we just swap out those projects for a big portion of that Harpers Creek project, legal counsel felt comfortable that this entire financing could be done on a tax-exempt basis, so lower interest rates.
Can we pause there for a minute? What is specifically in the Harpers Creek project?
That is the Stay the Course LLC.
Okay.
And because there are some shared facilities there, bond counsel felt that there may be some issue with the tax exempt financing on those private shared facilities. And Dan can talk for days on that, I know. But
Makes sense. I understand now.
It makes sense.
I'm sure you'd love to listen to the tax analysis on that, but the good news is we came up with a plan that allows us to finance everything and use the 1,000,001 and to keep it tax exempt. So it was a pretty innovative approach, and Mr. Gill helped us come up with it, so all went well.
Yeah. So the right side of this page is really what we're going to be assuming going forward in this presentation. That's what's going to be funded with debt, and about that 1.1 million that was going to be used for all those other projects is going to be used for Harpers Creek. Okay? Any questions on that before get into the proposals and the comparison? Okay. So page 4 provides an overview of the 4 proposals that we received from banks. You can see there we got Capital One, Chesapeake Bank, Cruz and Associates, which is based out of Arkansas, and Huntington Public Capital, which is based out of Ohio. Both of those we do see often proposing in Virginia, so they would be very normal to use here. Going from left to right here, column B, the type of financing that was proposed, we were asking for a direct bank loan where the lender is just the bank, there's no other investors involved. You can see 3 of the 4 offered that. Cruz and Associates provided a slightly different sort of proposal. We're not really going to dig into that in a whole lot of details, but we did want to point it out here as the reason why we did not really dig into it. But it would be sort of like a public offering, which involves more investors than just a singular bank. So it would be a much more involved process. Column C is the collateral that would be required. We did not, in sending out this RFP, offer a specific asset of the county as collateral. We essentially put that on the bank to say, what would you require? Capital One and Huntington are 2 there that said that they would want an essential facility. So that's sort of a little bit of a vague description there, but from their perspective, it's a facility that you all are not going to part with very easily, like the administration building or a courthouse or something of that nature. The others didn't really give much specifics there. Column D there, the call provisions, this would just another way to easily differentiate these proposals, and you can read through those, but essentially they provide different flexibility for you to be able to prepay this if you were to come into some funding that may be able to pay off this loan. That just gives you some perspective on how they would allow you to do that. And then the far right is probably the most relevant here is the interest rates that they provided. You see that some of those are in red, but that is because when they submitted the proposal, they said we can't specifically lock in these interest rates right now unless we know that you're going to go with our proposal. So those are in red there. You can see that Capital One actually provided the lowest direct bank loan interest rates that are fixed through final maturity. So all 3 of those interest rates for Capital One, the 435, 452, and 471, if we were to go with that now, those would be fixed for that entire 10, 15, or 20-year term. Like I mentioned, those are not locked in, so if the decision was to go with Capital One, we would need to go back to them and say, okay, we do want to go with you. What would the interest rates be now? They provided some guidance, and right now, based on that guidance, those interest rates would be a hair lower than they are right now in the proposal. So you would benefit from that if you were to go with them. Chesapeake Bank offered a 10-year rate reset, so you would have a 4.50 interest rate for 10 years, and then it would reset every 5 years after that. Cruz and Associates, again, was that public offering, not necessarily the approach we were going for. It was a lower interest rate, but again, it's a much more involved process, and that rate is much more indicative than the others. It's not really a very solid rate at this point. It's an estimate from them. And then you can see the Huntington proposed interest rates. Those are actually locked in. However, they are slightly higher than the others. So for the rest of this, we're going to focus on that Capital One proposal because it was a direct bank loan and it was the lowest interest rates that are actually going to be fixed for the full term of the loan. All right, so this next page, we're comparing really the 2 major options here, whether we move forward with the Virginia Resources Authority or with Capital One as a direct bank loan. The major difference initially on this interest rate is that if we were to go with Capital One, we could lock in an interest rate tomorrow, essentially. Again, those rates are not locked yet because we have not gone back to them and said, we want to move forward with you. Virginia Resources Authority, you're not going to know what your interest rates are going to be until July 22nd is what they have scheduled right now. So there is a little bit of uncertainty between the next month and a half of what those VRA interest rates are going to look like. One interesting fact here on the collateral, mentioned before that Capital One would require an essential facility. So that would be a new facility, not necessarily new, but new to be encumbered, that is not currently encumbered, that we would need to bring in. They're not necessarily concerned with the value. Again, the essentiality of the facility is what they really care about. And they would require a title search, which would be a little bit more cost to the county. Left side there, VRA, you all already have loans with VRA, and those loans are secured by certain assets, one of which is the old primary school, which is not currently in use. So what we have talked about doing here is swapping out that primary school that you are currently using as collateral on that VRA loan, which VRA is probably going to ask you to do regardless of whether or not you move forward with this approach, because that primary school is not in use anymore. And what we have discussed is using the existing high school as collateral for not just the 2020 loan that you all have, but this upcoming 2025. And given the value of that facility and the requirements that VRA has for that value, there would be potential in the next couple years if you were to go and retrofit the existing high school for administration offices or whatever that may be, you would be able to use that high school facility again at that point if you were to borrow for those renovations at that point. So that is just another consideration that provides some flexibility for you going forward, and achieve something that may be asked of you in the near future anyway, of swapping out the old primary school. You can see in line 3 there, the real estate requirements. What VRA does require an environmental questionnaire, but I don't think it's a very difficult thing to achieve there. And then Capital One would require that title search, and if that comes back with any deficiency, there may be some title insurance that you will have to pay for as well. The prepayment provisions, big differentiator here. VRA, you would be locked in for 10 years. You could not pay off that loan or refinance it for savings for the next 10 years. Capital One provides a little bit more flexibility there, and that would be about a 5-year no-call period for the 10-year option, 7 for the 15, and 8 for the 20-year. So a little bit more flexibility there, but again, you're trading off the interest rate for that. The project fund, VRA will have you deposited in the Virginia State Non-Arbitrage Program, which is very typical, and I think where you have your other bond proceeds, that would be a very straightforward approach. Capital One would require you to put the funds at Capital One, and they've indicated that that earnings rate would be about 1.5%. Now, the Virginia State Non-Arbitrage Program, Virginia SNAP, is earning about 4.5% right now. So there's that consideration. If these funds are not spent quickly, you would be earning a lot less with Capital One. Key dates for the two of these, VRA, you have to decide by June 13th whether or not you're in or out. So if you were to move forward with VRA, that decision is something that would need to be made tonight. And that is the next item on the agenda. If you were to go through, decide to do VRA, that resolution is up for consideration tonight. Capital One is giving us until tomorrow to tell them whether or not we would like to move forward with them. If that were the case, we would come back to another meeting in a few weeks and get the final resolutions done there. And we just need to close, that says June 11th, but it's really July 11th. There are some fees with VRA as well as with Capital One that you can see there, and we'll go into a little bit more of a comparison there on the next page. Credit approval, both of them are pretty much approved at this point. There's just some formalities to be completed, and you can see who their counsel would be on those as well. So I know a lot of information there. Any questions before we get into the actual payments that you would have?
I just have a quick question on
Sure.
the bank, determining the bank choice. It seems like the interest rates for Capital One vary based on the term of the, and those vary from 4.35 to 4.71.
That's right.
But the local bank Chess was 4.5 across the board. How was it determined that Capital One was better than than, say, if we were to go with a 15-year term with the local bank. It seems to be that's a less interest than Capital One.
For the first 10 years, you would know that, but the differentiating factor there is that the Chesapeake Bank, you would not know what the last 5 years of the
would be.
payments would be, so there is some interest rate uncertainty there. So the Capital One, you'd be locking that in right now, and you would know what the payments would be for the next 15 to 20 years.
Thank you for that clarification.
And with the local bank, there's no chance to refinance if the interest rates lower drastically over that 10-year period?
There would be an opportunity to do that. There is a little bit more prepayment flexibility. But again, it came down to the volatility of not knowing what that last portion would look like, that we decided to look at the Capital One proposal instead. But I think what we're going to look at on the next page is that the VRA is much better than both in that at this point.
And even though we won't know the interest rates until 7/22, I mean, I don't see them jumping as much as a point.
No, and if we flip to page 6.
Anything that'd go down.
Yeah. I mean, who knows?
Based on all the pressure.
Who knows? I don't want to say yes, they'll go down, but we really don't know at this point. So there's a lot of numbers on this page, but really the right side, sort of towards the bottom, is what's
If we keep saying they're going to go down, they're going to go down.
Hopefully. But yeah, so you can see here sort of what those payments look like. We've had some conversations with staff about what sort of payment you're looking for
Can we
here.
zoom in a little bit more on that?
Oh, yeah.
But, so you can see there, the far right, the 3 columns on the far right are the 3 Capital One options. And then the 5 columns in the middle there are the VRA. So VRA allows you to go out to 30 years, which will be more costly in total over the long run, but will provide you with lower interest rates, or not lower interest rates, lower annual payments over the life of the loan. So it's a trade-off there of what is affordable for you all, and what is sort of your targeting for what that payment would be. And you can see the comparison between really columns B and G are most comparable because they're the 2 10-year options, C and H, and then D and I. Just looking at the 20-year option, because I think we're leaning towards a longer term that would provide you with a lower payment. The Capital One proposal would have payments of about $785,000 per year. And VRA, the current market, the estimate would be about $745,000. So you'd save roughly $40,000 per year in the current market. Again, VRA's interest rates we don't know for certain until July. But right now, there's a pretty significant difference. And if you actually scroll down all the way to the bottom, what we've calculated in the blue down at the bottom is how much would interest rates have to move between now and that July 22nd date for the VRA payments to be the same as the Capital One payments. So for the 10-year option, interest rates would have to move 110 basis points, which means 1.1%. Between now and July for VRA to cost more than the Capital One option. And you can see that's a little bit different for the longer terms. It's about 85, so 0.85% for the 15-year and 62 or 0.62% for the 20-year. So there would need to be some fairly significant movement. It's not unheard of to have movement of that nature, but it's very rare that we would see that in the next month and a half. So all that to say, VRA is quite a bit lower at the moment, and it would require some very significant market movement between now and July for that differential to be made up. Any questions there?
And if it does move, if it does move by that amount, we can certainly go back to the other lenders and ask what their interest rate is.
And what do you say we have a 5 to 8 year penalty prepay penalty?
And for Capital One, you would. For VRA, it's 10 years.
10 years,
And it's no penalty per se. They don't let you pay off the first 10 years. Theoretically, if you had the money to set aside, you could set aside the money and defease it. But there's a 10-year period where those bonds have to be outstanding, essentially.
Or just pay for our future projects with cash.
Yes, that would be another option. And I like one clarification here is that resolution with VRA that is up for consideration tonight has to be approved by June 13th in order for you to participate. There are some parameters in there that are sort of guardrails for what the VRA issuance would look like. And I think what we have in there is that the interest rate wouldn't be higher than 5.5%, which is typical for VRA. I think if interest rates move significantly between now and July, there would be conversations with VRA about what this would look like.
Well, more than likely, if interest rates move that much between now and then, the banks would be going up as well.
You're exactly right. Yeah. And we would have to lock in the bank today or tomorrow.
I think it seems to me just a matter of determining, VRA seems a better choice, but just a matter of what term we want to go with. Do you have any recommendations on that, Don?
I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, staff recommends the VRA option, which is the point of this consideration item before you all. You know, most of these items in this $10 million are real estate related. So, you know, why not go with a 30-year term on items that are real estate related? It lowers the payment and makes it more manageable to, you know, hopefully keep taxes low as Mr. Reeves talked about earlier.
Is the end of your presentation?
We do have a few more pages. The next page just speaks a little bit to the volatility that we've been seeing in interest rates over the past 2 months. What with the announcements of tariffs and then rollbacks of tariffs and a lot of other things going on. What we're showing here, that black line in the middle, is essentially where were interest rates at the end of March and how have they fluctuated since the end of March. The one on the left side is the MMD, which is a tax-exempt interest rate that VRA bases their interest rates on. So you can see there's been quite a bit of volatility, but at no point has it changed by more than 55 basis points, which is less than the differential we talked about on the last page. The right side is Capital One. Their interest rates that I mentioned, the guidelines they gave us for whether or not theirs are going to move is based on this SOFR swap rate, and you can see the volatility in that one as well. So that's just to give you a little bit of perspective on that. Again, it's
Fortunate to be able to maintain these tax-exempt bonds because there's a pretty good push in the reconciliation bill to eliminate these tax-exempt bonds for localities. But fortunately, that didn't succeed.
No, I think that most recently it's been that's not on the chopping block. So,
but it doesn't mean it won't come back. So it's something we definitely need to be cognizant of for down the future and be
absolutely, yep,
lobbying our federal delegation to not go down that path.
Yeah, because I mean, you're looking at interest rates here in the, call it 4 to 4.5% range.
A lot of what's going on in the federal government is what the state government routinely does to local government. That's not really cut things, they just pass the buck and pass the responsibility of the cuts to somebody else.
Yeah, and
AKA local government.
Getting rid of the tax exemption would be a significant
Most of the
cost.
cuts that they're proposing also in other areas are not really cuts, they're just shifting the burden to localities and state governments.
Right. So that page just provides a little bit of perspective on the volatility. The last page is just the timeline. You can see the first one is the board meeting this evening. June 9th, we will be going to the school board. Generally, if we're doing the VRA option, or if you select a school property for the bank option, which I think we're going with VRA, it sounds like. So we will need to go to the school board on June 9th because the plan is to pledge the existing high school building, which is technically, I think, owned by schools.
Right. Yeah.
So they have to pass a resolution that allows you to do that. The EDA board meeting is not necessary for VRA. June 13th is that deadline for VRA. June 26th is when we would have come back for the bank loan, so we will not be coming back if we move forward with VRA. And then July 22nd is the VRA bond sale, where those interest rates will be locked in. And then August 6th is when they have said they're going to close. Actually, I think they've changed that to August 5th, but sort of beside the point. You all will get the funding on August 5th to be able to pay for these projects.
All right, Mr. Gill, we'll move on. Any questions, gentlemen? Any further questions or statements?
Yeah, well, I think what needs to be decided with this consideration item is which path are we going to follow? Are we going to do a direct bank loan, or are we going to pursue
Mr. Chairman,
VRA?
I move that this board finance through the VRA summer bond pool for 30 years.
Okay, and attached, okay. Okay, you've heard a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just add one thing to that, because the extra $15 million for the schools was brought up earlier, and I, said that it was the plan all along to borrow that $15 million during this year. The Virginia Public School Authority they have two bond issuances a year. We've already missed the spring one, but it was the plan all along to apply in the fall pool for that extra $15 million for the schools. So we'll be doing this process again probably in
Late August, early
late
September.
August or September for that $15 million. And as part of this, consideration item number 6 is the resolution that Ben spoke of, and Dan can address this much better than I can.
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you, Ms. Gill. The resolution before you chooses the VRA option. It gives you the ability to, change your mind. It goes up to the 30-year period, 2055, and also has the amount that you need to a maximum of $10 million to have everything known demand put into it, but you really want about 9.9 million. You can see the number in there that you'll need for these projects, and that was what was shown on that chart that you saw of the different projects. And I can go through line by line with it, Mr. Chairman, or if you have any questions. I know you've seen these before. We've done some VRA financings in the past. It approves the documents in general, authorizes everybody to go forward, and there's some VRA document forms that we've got, the local financing agreement, lease agreement, that will amend eventually the prior financing we have out there, because their VRA is requiring us to swap the property since we no longer use the primary school. So that would happen anyway, but this way we get the advantage of using that as the collateral for this loan as well as the prior loan, and probably for some future loans, because it has a lot of value.
So is that typical that they can just change the collateral on a previous loan? Or is that something that's written into the original contract?
They do have that ability, and we have done that in the past when the collateral is so much after a few years. Usually that's what happens, as opposed to we no longer are using the collateral. So, yeah.
All right, any additional questions, gentlemen? All right, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the resolution approving the lease financing through the VRA.
And giving the county administrator executive power.
What was that?
Yeah, yep, I'm good with that.
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
To
I
have it
thought you
all
were asking
executed,
Don.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion passed.
Okay.
Thank you,
And-
gentlemen.
Thank you. And you have that, Crystal, with the actual votes, right? Because we have to record that.
Yeah, Crystal.
Okay, great. Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gill, number 6.
Mr. Chairman, your last consideration item tonight deals with approval of an engineering services estimate for tennis courts adjacent to the new school site. As you are aware, a tennis court facility has always been envisioned for the new school property that would serve both the school and the public. but it was not incorporated into the new school site plan for various reasons, some of those including limited available space and how to provide accessibility for the tennis court facility use during and outside of school hours. We do have several members of the public who have expressed a willingness to assist with this endeavor, raising funds, for example. But the first step is to develop a concept plan, and in order to develop that concept plan, engineering work will have to be done. You've got the estimate in front of you from Bay Design Group for a concept plan, and the total of that is $8,350. So I'm asking you to approve that engineering estimate tonight.
All right, you have any questions of Mr. Gill? I move that we approve the engineering service estimate of a proposed tennis park adjacent to the new school in the amount of $8,350. You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion passed. All right, any board reports?
I have an appointment to make.
Okay,
I'd like to appoint Lisa Smith to the Middle Peninsula Behavioral Health Board.
all right, you've heard the appointment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, appointment's been made.
I have an appointment for District 1 to reappoint LaToya Davenport to the Planning Commission.
All right, you've heard that appointment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Appointment's been made, all right. Any others?
And Mr. Chairman, looks like I am proposing David Chupp to serve on the Planning Commission.
Okay, so you're appointing him to serve?
Yes.
All right, you've heard that motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, Mr. Chump has been appointed. All right, any other board reports? County Administrator report.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to pass it to John, who is going to relay some good news to you all and the community tonight.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Lancaster County has been honored once again for its strategic plan, Lancaster 2035, which aims to address the community's economic future. This time, the Virginia chapter of the American Planning Association awarded Lancaster County the Holtzheimer Economic Development Award. This prestigious honor recognizes and promotes outstanding planning efforts throughout the Commonwealth. I have a quote from the award committee. The awards committee would like to acknowledge the hard work and dedication your planning effort has shown in achieving the chapter's mission of making great communities happen in Virginia. We are committed to raising awareness about the many benefits that planning offers as a foundation for effectively addressing the physical, economic, and social changes that take place in Virginia. I want to thank the Board of Supervisors and the Citizens Business Relations Advisory Committee for providing a strong planning document to allow me to do my job. And I think this is great leadership, and this award is greatly deserved. And I look forward to accepting the award at the awards ceremony on July 22nd, 2025, at the Portsmouth Norfolk Waterfront Hotel, and invite any of the board members or the Citizens Business Relations Advisory Committee members to join me.
Good, that's good.
Thank you.
All righty.
Good work.
Anything else? Well, I entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
All right, motion has been made to adjourn. All in favor said aye.
Aye.
We adjourn.